Welcome to Dating and Relationship Advice. We're going to cover a couple of dates that I've been on, maybe some trauma. All right. So I want to introduce a new guest that hasn't been on the show before. And your name is?
My name is Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Brian.
So, how is my podcast? I was just curious.
The one I just listened to. I actually was listening this morning,
Uh-oh, did you?
but the sense of humor behind it, you have to kind of put yourself out there in those positions because I'm sure, like a lot of us, it has happened, similarities. So what better way to to get through it than just to laugh about it? Yeah, it's you just got to put yourself in that position and just kind of laugh about it.
Yeah, because everybody's dated before, right?
Well, I'd hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, and we kind of discussed, like, you think it's different now. Yeah, I think it's just more of it.
Everything's social media. So much harder, I think, today than when we were younger, before the cell phones, and you actually had to go out and physically meet somebody. And today, it's like you don't. There's so many deceiving people that just you don't know who's telling the truth. If they are who they say they are, or if they're married, or if they're in a relationship. If whatever, it's much harder to.
Well, see, that's kind of what I was saying. So even if you met somebody at a dance club or a bar and you walk up to them, you don't know if they're married, you don't know anything, but
True.
then you maybe look at the ring that they took off, maybe before they
Or a
got
tan
into the
line
bar.
around their finger.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's more of it. So we get exposed to more people as opposed to just the people in the dance club or just the people at the bar.
Correct.
So, I mean, to me, in a sense, it's pretty much the same, but there's so many people that can contact you.
Yes.
Like for me on these date sites,
Mhm.
might get one or two that might be interesting or a match, as opposed to what I've learned. You might get hundreds.
I don't know because I don't pay for any of them. So
Oh,
I fully move forward and just paying the money to really meet someone. I think
yeah, but
worth it.
most of these sites you don't have to pay anything. You're just paying
Right.
for the extras, but you're still communicating back and forth.
Yes. You have to accept the person, right? To say you're. I guess I'm not on dating sites enough to really know too much about it, but for instance, if you see somebody you like, you swipe, I think, left, or you not like somebody, you swipe left and swipe right if you do.
I mean, I've tested pretty much all the sites, and I think Bumble's probably the best or the safest
Okay.
for women, as far as I know. But as soon as you swipe, it'll tell you that you're matched. You don't have to pay for it or not. I mean, Tinder's the same way, Bumble's the same way, OkCupid, Match.com you have to pay for, eHarmony you have to pay for. But all those sites, even Christian Mingle. Well, if you're into your religion and you want to move, all the sites are pretty much the same. You either match or don't match. You start talking, and either he sends you a dick pic or he doesn't. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten some of those D pics because I didn't know that they were transgender. Yeah, some of them are real good, and some of them are just look like guys with wigs and boobs. Oh, you faded out again.
Yeah, my phone. I don't know. Hard to tell these days. I mean, I've seen some transgenders that are absolutely beautiful, not knowing, and then all of a sudden, they're like, surprise.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to get your opinion on this date that I went on,
Okay.
or I didn't really go on the date, but so I was on Bumble,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like 11:45 at night, and I'm sitting on the couch, trying to relax, doing my thing, and well, let me rewind. So
Okay.
in the morning, I swiped on this person. It was probably about 10 o'clock. And I get a little picky because, I read what's inside the profile, and I have to have something in common with them in order
Okay.
in order to relate and talk to them. Now it gets to 11:45, and all of a sudden, I hear a ding, and my phone responded to I have a match. So I'm looking, and immediately she starts texting me. If you scroll to the bottom on this particular app, you can see where they are in
Mhm.
location. So this one said, she was like 2 miles away. I'm assuming she lives in the same city that I do. She was asking me, how you doing? The typical intro to
Right.
anything. And I'm like, I'm doing okay. I noticed that you're 2 miles away. And she goes, oh, yeah, I'm down the street at the 306 bar. And I'm like, I've never heard of that bar. And I lived here for like 4 or 5 years. And she tells me, well, if you don't know where that bar is, then you probably don't know this city. And I'm like, okay. So she immediately tells me she wants me to come over there and meet her.
Okay.
And I'm kind of hesitant. It's like, well, I don't really know you. I kind of feel like talking to get to know you a little bit, to see what we have in common, because I don't like to like blindly go somewhere and meet them, and if you don't have anything in common, then you're going to just sit there in silence.
Okay.
That's kind of what I imagine is going to happen. And I know if I sit somewhere in silence and we're not talking to each other, we're not a match at all. Or they start looking out the window. I've seen that happen, and we're just not a match at all. And
Okay.
I just wasted my time, pretty much. I ask her, what is she doing in the bar? This is like 11:45 at night. We started
Oh,
talking to each other,
goodness.
and I'm laying on the couch. I'm relaxing. It's like the end of the day. It's almost 12 o'clock. Eventually, I ask her, are you the bartender? And she goes, no, I'm not the bartender, but I'm going to be here until 2:45. So I'm thinking to myself, what's this woman doing there by herself? I'm guessing she's by herself until 2:45. I'm like, well, it's kind of late. So at this point, we've been talking for 15 minutes. And I told her, maybe we can meet some other time and schedule something that we're both comfortable with. And she goes, oh, wait a minute. I think I forgot a couple things. So in one of the instances while we were talking, she thought I was a liberal because I didn't come out automatically. And I'm like, what does being in a political party have to do with just coming out and getting comfortable with somebody?
Okay.
Mhm. So since I asked her if we can do this like another day, schedule something, and she goes, no, just forget it. And then after that, she blocked me.
What? Okay.
So I'm like, what's that all about?
That's strange.
So you tell me I'm part of a political party. You tell me to come out at probably 12 midnight or after that.
Hmm.
I'm like, if things were switched and you were in that situation and a guy told you to come out at midnight, what would you think?
I wouldn't go.
So then it's okay for me to block you after that?
Well, I mean, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's your right if you want to block me, but I mean, I guess it would like make me even more sure of myself that I'm glad I didn't go because if you're going to block me because I said no, it makes me wonder what else is going on in their head. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, how do you know it's not a setup?
Right. Right. You don't. I mean, for all you know, she could have had like three guys to jump you and rob you for that matter, especially at midnight. I mean, yeah. No, you shouldn't have went. You did the right thing.
So I like to look at every angle. So let's say I was her asking me out. Some of the questions, if I didn't know where this bar was and I lived here for 5 years, that might be questionable.
Right.
Or do you really live in the city that you live in if you don't
Right.
know where things are? I'm like, I travel all over the place. I don't tend to go around my own city and figure out what's here because I work quite a bit.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what her intentions were. Maybe she'd been drinking, especially that late at night, and just not knowing. It's not safe. I am concealed to carry, but still don't want to take that chance.
So, are you more comfortable meeting somebody sooner than later?
Um, what do you mean, like sooner? Like,
I don't know. Some people just like to, after a couple conversations, let's go meet. Or some people just like to talk for a week and then maybe meet after that or
I guess
longer.
I don't know. I guess it just depends on how comfortable you are in the conversation you're having. If you, I mean, obviously you're not going to go meet somebody after one little paragraph. It's like, hey, let's go grab drinks. So, but it would definitely be in a public place. I wouldn't, want to go meet somebody at their house or wherever. It'd definitely have to be somewhere open and where other people are there.
Right.
Sooner rather than later. I think later could probably be for me. Like for instance, I'm talking to somebody through a dating app, and it's been probably a couple weeks. I had given my number because I didn't want to keep going in and out of the app, thinking, well, they'll just text me. Well, they haven't texted me, but they're still going in and out of the dating app. So for me, I'm just like, yeah, either you're not interested or you're just looking for a chat buddy, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, I'm very sociable. I'll talk to anybody, small talk or whatever. But I think the longer the conversation's going on may show that you really aren't sure of yourself as far as what you're looking for, or if you're scared to take that step out. I mean, I'm sure there's probably, a numerous things that could possibly be going through a person's head. Like, I'm not sure if I like them, or I'm nervous about meeting them. I mean, everybody's different. So it's just a matter of feeling it out just to see what they're thinking, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
But I think if you start, like, I know you mentioned that you'd like to get to know somebody more and see if you have things in common. I think today, going out, I mean, talking a little bit, but then going out and meeting and just maybe asking more questions at that time versus, asking a bunch of questions through, the app or texting. I think it kind of turns a person away a little bit to where they don't want to feel like it's an interview. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, regardless of how you twist it, in a sense, it's kind of an interview.
Well,
It's like, where
there
do you
is.
work? What do you do for a living? It's the same questions over and over again.
Right.
Okay, so let me give you an example. So I matched up with this lady. Her name is Amanda. We were talking for a while. The typical questions, what do you do for a living? Do you have brothers and sisters? How old are your kids? That kind of thing. She didn't have any kids. She had what sounded like she had trouble in her family. So that kind of made me question. We kept on talking and I kept on digging into her life. There's a couple things that she didn't want to share at all. So eventually, weeks went by. We decided to FaceTime to see if, oh, well, at least I wanted to know if she was real. And we FaceTime. She was making food and I was making food. I was showing her around my house and she was showing me what she was cooking and we had some fun there. So we kept on talking and the weeks went on. We FaceTimed again. And one instance where she said, here, wait a minute, let me call you back. And I'm like, what are you going to do? And she goes, well, just wait a minute. And I saw her, it's almost like she had to blow in this machine. And I had to ask, what's that machine for? And it seemed like, she had a bracelet where she was in lockdown. She had to blow in this machine every, what, 3 hours? So at least to tell that she wasn't drunk. And that she let me know that she has one of these in her car. And I'm like, okay. So it's almost like, I switched into pen pal mode. I was kind of entertained by, what she did and how she came about getting this machine, what was her background and why is she on lockdown? you know and it's almost like, I'm not really interested in dating you because that's not my thing. I'm not a drinker, and I'm kind of more interested in professional women who have a career, so to say. Well, at least somebody on my level, education wise. And, you scroll down and you see, she just has a high school education, but you never know. I mean, what level? I mean, she could be a manager of something that age, even with a high school level education. But I was just still curious, but then I became not interested because it became not a match. So that's why I asked, would you rather meet sooner or later? But it's glad that I found this out later. I mean, way later, and we didn't even meet yet. Of course, I probably would have saw the light up bracelet or something like that, unless she hid it down her pants. I don't know really what her deal was, but sometimes it is good to talk for a little bit as opposed to meeting right away. At least in my case.
I guess for me, because I am sociable. I've always been in like the customer service aspect that I enjoy talking to people, so it doesn't bother me. But I could also see where on the other side where people could probably be turned off by so many questions all up front, to where let's just go have a drink or let's just go grab lunch and just talk there, face to face. I think, we all hide behind our phones anymore, that it's hard to look at, I mean, you can look at a picture and think, oh, okay, they're chatting, we're chatting and we know what's going on. But for me personally, I want to be in your face. I want to be there. I want to talk to you. I want to see your smile. I want to see what you look like. I want to see your facial expressions and how you react to a certain question. If you're uncomfortable, I think you could read so much more of a person face to face than you can by just texting them or asking, all these questions that you would normally ask if you were in front of them.
Well, I figure the basics are good enough, and then you can just meet after that.
Yeah, you obviously got to have the basics. Most definitely. I agree that. But I also, for me personally, sit across from you. I want to be able to look you in the eyes and I want to be able to read you more. I mean, for me, past experiences and stuff. And even with that being said, that it always doesn't work, obviously, because I'm single and I'm 50, going to be 53 years old. So what the hell am I doing?
Well, see, that's where I come into play. It's like, why isn't it working out? Like for me, what is turning these people off? Is it maybe the older I get, the uglier I am? Maybe I, well, thanks. But see that's what I kind of get out of it almost. A lot of times they're not answering my questions. And I ask um not necessarily ordinary questions. Like a lot of the questions are, for example, from your last relationship, what have you learned from your last relationship that you think you need now? And that's not an ordinary question. I try to create questions like that because I got yelled at plenty of times where somebody yelled at me for asking them, what do they do for a living? The typical questions. They're like,
Right.
everybody asks me that. Why don't you just ask something unique? And I'm like, oh, okay, so I'll do that. I don't have a problem. But I'm still interested in what you're doing because maybe I can relate.
Think there's anything on that scale.
But you find out real quickly on if they get mad because of that, I know they've been on the sites too long and they need a
Yeah.
break.
I have to say, I've seen, several different profiles. I do go in and I read them. And I have to say that yours was very, very unique. I liked it. You were very thorough in what you want and what you're looking for. I liked your questions. Um, but yeah, I don't know anybody that's ever. Well, I guess because I'm not on the dating apps that often. This is only like the second time I think I've been on a dating app. If I respond to a question, either it stops and there's no other response from myself, from the other person that I'm speaking with, or then it obviously will conversation. But from the majority of, let's just say, the last 5 people that I've spoke with, there's probably only 3 of the 5 that actually carried on the conversation. The other 2 were just like, yes, no, how are you, good morning, or whatever. It's just like 2-word sentence and then it's done. They disappear.
Well, see, that's the other problem I have. So I get the same thing on my end where, you get like those one word answers. So either maybe they're talking to multiple people, or they're busy, or they just don't know how to communicate.
Right.
So the big thing for me is communication. So I need to know that you know how to communicate. So if we have a problem, can talk to each other, civilized adults, instead of
Right.
yes, no, and then you're off to work.
Right. Totally agree. I think, but I also found out that people shut down. Like they don't. I don't know if it's they don't know how or they just don't want to.
Well, I know that depending on their traumas in the past, they probably got shut down in other ways in order for them not to communicate.
True. I mean, I could honestly say, as myself, I know there's times where I've shut down with communication.
Yeah, but then you
Like,
can you can say, we can talk about this a little bit later.
yeah, you can always build that bridge. I mean, you can always like, this isn't a good time right now, or you can build that bridge to where you can come back later versus just, for instance, so I was on Bumble a couple years ago and I met somebody and we hit it off. I mean, humor, I love to laugh. I love someone that can make me laugh, and we hit it off, and we dated um, for almost 3 years, and there was some communication, that didn't happen. That even I would make certain comments about certain things, trying to even just give him hints that that conversation wasn't working for me, but then he would turn it around and make it sound like as if I was calling him out for something that I wasn't, when I was just trying to communicate with him that there's other ways of communication than certain words or whatever it was that he had said to me. So I know he had some trauma. I mean, I know I've had trauma.
So then he's not sensitive to your feelings. So that part of the relationship was missing.
Right. Most definitely. And then I actually took a step back from the relationship and said things were not working for me. I did not say that I want to break up or, let's take a break. I didn't say any of that. I just said things were not working for me. And almost 3 years into the relationship, we hung up, but he never once called me back to say, let's talk about this. What's not working for you? What can we do to make this right? There was none of that that was coming back and saying, you're worth this. I want this to work. And that hurt me, I think, more than anything because I was dealing with family issues to where, my daughter was in and out of the hospital and I get up at 3 a.m. to go to work, and I was trying to juggle all this stuff with family, which was pulling me away from my relationship, which I kind of set him on the back burner. And it wasn't working for me at that moment because I had too much going on and I just needed just to take a break. But he didn't ask questions. He didn't want to know what was going on. He just took it as we're done. And then
Well,
I think
those
it was like,
well, what you said was kind of, I would take it as I want to break up. If you want distance, then that means you want to break up. You don't want to work out anything. To me, I kind of got that as I want to break up if it's not working out.
maybe I didn't do like open ended questions. Like he couldn't respond to where he's like, well, what's not working? What is there something I can do? There wasn't that supportive partnership to where it's like, well, what can I do to help you, or what's going on? There wasn't any questions like, well, what's going on?
Well, that didn't seem like he had that skill, or he had that self awareness,
Hmm.
or that much of the ability to care about somebody else.
Right. And like I said, I think there was like 20 days, I think he counted. Somewhere in there that went by to when I reached out to him, and he had come back around and we were talking again, and then we were going to try working on us. And then I think during those times he actually met somebody else and he wasn't telling me. I thought we were going to, work on us. And then all of a sudden it was like it wasn't working for him anymore. And then
Yeah, too much.
divorce.
Yeah, there's too much time that was elapsed and miscommunication. So that's why I think it's kind of important to communicate. Like, if you needed some help, let me know and I'll help you.
He is saying, well, let's just work on us. You go on and you find out, well, he's sleeping with someone, probably 15, 20 years younger than he is, who has a 5-year-old, and he's, in his 50s. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. So, and that was very hurtful for me. I think that being the final draw, because I know my worth and I know what I want, and I know what I wanted in that relationship. And obviously it wasn't working, uh, apparently, because he was sleeping with not only myself, but he was also sleeping with somebody else, but he wasn't telling me he was sleeping with somebody else.
Yeah, but that was within that 20 days, or was that
No,
before that?
no, that is maybe this we were working on us. And
Yeah, I was
yeah,
thinking by then he already had another relationship set up.
well, he probably.
Yeah, see, I don't like waiting that long. So if there's a problem, I'd like to deal with it like right there. Or at least discuss, when can we talk again? Because like my last relationship, it was just a disaster. She wanted to avoid any confrontation whatsoever because it didn't benefit her. So if I had a problem, you're talking to your ex-boyfriend and you're wanting to get together with him, I have a problem with that because I knew in the background that she wanted to get back together with him. So, I asked her to delete his number, and she said, she pressed on her phone while we were physically looking at each other, and she goes, "Okay, I did." But then later on, she really didn't, and
Oh,
she kept on calling him. Well, yeah, that's who she is. So so I mean, I had concerns, and anytime I wanted to talk about it, she goes, I just want to have a good time. I don't want to talk about things. And she kept on pushing things off until yeah. So she kept on pushing me away, so to say. She didn't want any confrontation.
girlfriend of yours, or were you guys just dating? Were you in a relationship?
Well, yeah, this was my girlfriend. 4 years, going on 5. So, but this was early on. Yeah, I told you, that relationship was like a Jerry Springer relationship. Yeah, I was trying to, figure out why she was doing what she was doing. But she was obsessed with this one guy and he was married, and she's chasing after that guy. But at the same time, she's jealous of me, even talking to friends that I've had for 20 years or more,
Okay.
which was a little bit weird. This guy that she's chasing after, he's living with his wife, and he has what, 4 kids? And he also has a girlfriend named Becky on the side.
So he's one of us.
And this guy has my girlfriend's attention.
Hmm.
But I'm the one who's emotionally available. I'm the one who's there for her. And she chases after that?
Wow. Yeah, that's. I don't. And then again, I don't understand the way people think. I mean, what were her traumas?
Oh, there was a lot. I mean, my whole podcast, it's almost, bits and pieces of her because she was the worst relationship I've ever had. And there's nothing, I don't know, there's nothing that she didn't do that could be talked about.
So, was she the narcissist?
Yes.
Okay. My ex-husband was the narcissist and a con man. So he had he had a lot going for him.
Yeah, she's a little bit different. So she's empathetic, so she can feel people's feelings. At the same time, she has that narcissistic quality, and she has personality disorder, like borderline.
Okay.
So she has some symptoms of that.
So,
We have a lot in common. So that's kind of what I wanted to get into.
okay.
So I'm thinking the more things that you have in common with somebody, the more you're drawn to them. I mean, you don't have to have every single thing in common, but I'm thinking like both of us are not sports fans. So would you be attracted to somebody who actually is into sports as opposed to not?
Um, are you asking me personally? Like for me personally,
Mhm.
I could care less.
Well,
I could
see,
care less.
well,
But
see, this is the scenario. So if you go towards, not really caring about watching sports or, like there's 18 weeks of football. So you're okay with your boyfriend going off with his friends every weekend for 18 weeks?
um, honestly, I don't think it would bother me. So it was constantly time on his phone or TV. I just go around, if he wanted to go somewhere. I mean, if he was wanted to go somewhere, typically I think he would have asked me to go with him, which I would have went just because I like to be sociable and be around other people. I could care less about who's winning or losing. Um,
Well, to me, that's not a relationship. So I'm thinking, so what other things do you like doing for
my
fun?
son,
Like you don't have any hobbies or
thing to do. I would be happy just going to the pool in the summer and just falling asleep at the pool in the sun. Um, I'm very sociable, so I don't really have something that I do for fun, I guess. I mean, I'll go out. I like events. I love music, so I love concerts. So I guess that would be
so you're not really interested in sports that much, not as much as he is. So you'd be more compatible with somebody who would actually go out with you, go dancing, go watch a band, instead of wasting 18 weeks of watching sports.
well, I think if that's the case, I think there's compromise between the both. I mean, he liked to golf and I was like, hey, go golf with your friends, go have fun. I'll see you later. I have a friend that live in Pittsburgh, so I would take a weekend and I'd go hang out with my friend in Pittsburgh for a weekend and he would go, golf or do whatever on the weekend that weekend I was gone.
Yeah, but that's not, to me, that's not a relationship. That's friends with benefits. It's
I don't
like
think so.
it's like you go over here and I'll go over here, and then maybe we'll come back together.
You're in a relationship, you don't have to be with that person 24/7. I mean, they have friends. So, if you got jealous of hanging out with your friends or being around your friends, I mean, you gotta have free time with your friends just to decompress sometimes and hang out. It's not like you're going out and you're cheating on that person. You're just hanging out with your friends and you're doing what you did any other time other than hopefully you weren't picking up other women or picking up other men.
Yeah, but still, to me, that's not a compatible thing. It's like you doing something over there and I'm doing something over here. So if I didn't like sports and I have friends that don't like sports equally, but we do other things like go see Christmas lights or go watch a band or do those kind of things. Uh,
Hmm.
I would be more connected to the person who'd want to be with me, um, and my friends would like the same things that you did. You would, if that makes more sense. Instead of a bunch of guys, watching men touch each other's asses.
I mean, I guess I see what you're saying, but I also I personally, in my experience, disagree. Just because I mean, I don't want to say I disagree because there's times where you just want to do something with your friends, and like, for instance, my mom comes in and my daughter, and like, we're going to go shopping for the day, and we're gone the whole day. We're gonna travel down to Columbus and go to the malls and hang out and do lunch and possibly dinner, and then I'll be see you either later tonight. And my sister-in-law does a trip with her mom and her sister, and they'll go and spend the night in Amish country, and they do shopping all day.
Well,
My
yeah.
brother's home watching football with his buddies for for a day. I don't think there's anything different with that. There's, they're married, they're doing their separate thing, but they're also together. They trust each other enough to where they communicate, and I think that's a huge part of any relationship or any marriage. Is you need some separation. You don't need to be up somebody's ass, so to speak, the whole time.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
went.
yeah, you guys enjoy each other. You got to spend time with it. Obviously it wouldn't work, but you also need that time apart.
What you can have that time apart, but it's how you relate with each other.
Okay.
Like if somebody's a Trumper and the other person's not, I don't think it's something that you can relate with. If somebody's into sports and the other one's into bands, um, and they're not talking to each other, I mean, are you really interested in what Terry Bradshaw did, or whatever famous football player there is? So I was thinking, if he's into football and you're into bands and
Mhm.
concerts and stuff, you can't relate. It's like I don't really care what Terry Bradshaw or whoever famous football player is doing whatever at that moment in time. It's like you can't relate. But if you go out with somebody who has the same interests, you can collaborate on bands. You can get excited about the same thing instead of having separate lives and coming back together later. I mean, there's more of a bond or more of a connection instead of just being there. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that, but I I don't know. I think I just have a I think you can compromise on both. Whether I don't think you have to be 100% compatible with that person. I mean, obviously, you want something to be compatible with. Obviously, there's things you like and you dislike, but I
Well,
think
see, listen to this one. So I went out on a date a long time ago, and
okay.
this lady liked a totally different music from me. She took me to this band, and it's more of it's almost like 80s drug music. Whatever you got high from.
I'm
Music like Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Alice Cooper, Judas Priest. Stuff that I didn't listen to at all.
drug music.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember. Like back in the '80s, it was for me. It was considered like drug music,
Okay.
not necessarily Pink Floyd, but worse than that.
Okay.
I can't remember. I couldn't relate because I was more into like Bruno Mars or some of the more recent music kind of thing. So because we didn't like the same music, she dumped me immediately. We were both teachers and had similar backgrounds, but not the same music tastes. And there was no compromise. Doesn't matter if I had a good character, good personality, the way I looked. It all had to do with the music.
Really?
So, so I figure, it does matter. Like the more things that you're passionate about, the more things you come together on, and the more you'd want to be with that person. It's almost like, going back to high school. Um, who did you who were you attracted to in high school? Somebody who was more outgoing or more like you, somebody more sociable.
I don't know. I mean, I can honestly say for myself, I remember a couple of guys that were. I mean, I was very sociable. Obviously, I hung out, with. I guess you could call them the popular. It's a few that position that were not kind of,
Yeah, but did they seem like they had the same energy as you?
you
Oh, so it was just they were good looking and that was it.
know, someone older than us. I was always looking for someone a few years older than I am. I don't know why, but that's just I've always been that way.
So what I heard was they were good looking and you just wanted to get to know them better.
Yeah, I think for myself, physical attraction I'm drawn to first. That's just, that's huge for me.
Right. So then you're emphasizing my point. So if you don't know their character and if they don't share your morals and values, you're not going to be compatible. People that like art and theater, they gravitate towards each other because they have a common interest. People that both like to sit and watch football and talk about football and do the football pool. Those people usually gravitate towards each other. I mean, you date somebody because you enjoy spending time with them together, not apart, and then come together later. It's like you get excited about maybe you both are like to paint or like to do crafts or like to dress up doing cosplay. Those people gravitate together because they're excited doing the same thing and they're passionate about what they like together. I'll be attracted to somebody with the same energy. It's like, would you go out with somebody that's a couch potato when you're like to be social and like to be out there? Wouldn't you like somebody that has the same energy as you do? I would have more fun with that person rather than a person that likes to just be a couch potato or watch football or whatever they do. Somebody that's closer to your likes is more attractive. As we get older, we need more substance. You heard of people drifting apart because they have no common interests that they can do together. That's what I'm trying to say here. So that's why things don't work out.
True.
It's like a football person and non-football person uh, can't relate. So it's not going to be a true sense of the word of true connection or a closer connection for me.
Okay. I get it.
I mean, I like more of a guarantee.
But how can you put a guarantee? You can't put a guarantee on a relationship or
Well, you can if you have more things that you're passionate about together. If you have the same morals, the same values, the same views, you can relate with each other. You have each other's back. The more we relate to and the more we have in common, the more of a guarantee we have that the relationship is going to continue in the future. And the happier we are together. That is the guarantee.
okay.
If you like bands together, then we can go see all kinds of bands and have fun and dance, learn how to dance, expand in that way instead of watch
Right.
football and just sit there and eat and talk about stats. The football part of it's kind of boring for me. Unless I'm in it playing,
Right.
I'm not really interested.
Okay. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I guess for myself as a person,
I'm not saying you
if
can't have your own time.
right. No, I'm just saying I understand what you're saying. I mean, I don't know how else to. I mean, I understand what you're saying about being compatible and doing this, but there was also things that he did. We went antiquing and we enjoyed all that stuff.
Right, but it wasn't really complete. So that's why I'm thinking if you get rid of the football guy and you're more connected on, okay, let's go to a band. Let's talk about this instead. And we can both participate in things that we're passionate about, which makes it more exciting to be in the relationship, wouldn't it?
I guess I wouldn't know.
I mean, it doesn't
Yes.
it doesn't sound fun when you're blacking out while the guys talk about statistics. Well, see, that's what I'm trying to stress in these podcasts. It's like you can have a better connection, more of a connection, if you follow certain guidelines, and you can have more of a fulfilling relationship, and you can push each other to improve each other. It's like if you're both creative, then you can push each other to be more creative instead of, okay, so I'm bored sitting on the couch again watching football. It's and you said you're not a TV person. Well, 18 isn't it more exciting to be inspired by your partner instead of being separated by them? Doing separate things would be a good reason to be disconnected from your partner.
For an
Yeah, for 18 weeks, for an hour and a half of every day. I mean, I'd like to know about your day, what your struggles are, and what you've done. I mean, what's wrong with doing that instead of it's almost like you're grounding yourself going to your separate rooms. So so that's kind of irritating for me. It's like people don't see, there could be more of a connection. Yeah, because in the way you describe some of the things, it's almost like you're settling. I don't want to say that you're settling, but if I was in that position, yeah, and I'm thinking you like yourself, don't you? So why can't you find somebody exactly like you or close to it? Oh, you cut out again.
my whole dating life and relationships or marriage, you just kind of
But
went with it.
but you can make it different. You don't have to go with anything.
No, I totally agree with you 100%.
I mean, I want to enjoy my life. I want to go to bands. I want to go dancing. I want to do stuff. But if football's your life, that's not part of what I want to do
Right,
to have fun.
right.
So I'd rather spend the rest of my life with somebody that has similar passions and we can just continue to have fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I
Okay.
want to get back to your narcissist ex-girlfriend.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a really long story. That's going to take 3 or 4 or 5 hours.
That's between your ex, who was a narcissist, my ex, who was a narcissist.
Well, see, me, I knew better, but I didn't go with it because of certain things.
Because, like I said, I was with him for 14 years. And yes, I had the red flags and all of that. So I think that would be interesting to see the compatibilities that we could share.
Yeah, I can explain what kind of narcissist he was, but yeah, we can get into that. Yeah, because there's many combinations of narcissism. Yeah, because he sounds like he wanted to feel important, or he had a lack of importance, maybe because of his background. But did you ever talk about his background and how he grew up?
Except all the stuff that goes on and how they feel and how they're raised and their morals. But I totally understand what you're saying as far as being compatible.
Yeah, but most people don't have that experience to understand. I'm not saying like 100% exactly your twin,
Right.
but there are differences where you can actually learn from each other, but liking the same thing
Hmm.
still. I
No,
mean,
I get it.
yeah, you can do so many things. With like if we both like bands and we both want to experience, something local as opposed to music that we already know,
Hmm.
that's more fun dancing with your partner rather than watching a football game. I think so.
No, I get it. Makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't get some of the.
I
Yeah, see, I don't get people who are, some of them are Democrats, the others are Republican, but they're still together. But they're not passionate about something like that.
Yeah, I don't. So yeah, I don't.
And
I
I,
would have never thought of it.
yeah, and I'm not into politics, so I don't really care. And as long as you're not into politics, then we're totally compatible. You would have never connected those dots. Yeah, most people don't think of it that way. They just swipe because they're attractive. They don't normally
No,
read my profile. Yeah, some people think that I have a fake profile. Well, I don't know. I guess it's a matter of opinion, I guess. So next time, we'll probably get into the narcissistic kind of conversation and behaviors and share some experiences. And we will see you later.